on a visit to Washington, visiting the National Museum of the Holocaust. 20 years ago, I was fortunate enough to be given a tour of the museum through the efforts of Rabbi Levi Shem Tov. At that time, it was not so easy to get in. It was the beginning of their opening, and I was highly disappointed by two matters that glared at me and would have glared at any religious Jew coming to visit the museum. And my family, my father's family, was an Orthodox family. My grandfather had a beard, as did all of my great-grandfather's family, my grandfather's family. They came from the Shtetl of Poland. And most of the people in the Shtetl, not in the big cities, but in the Shtetl of Poland, were Orthodox. And they had either big beards or small beards, but beards, and yarmulkes and payas. And the women wore tichlach, kerchiefs to cover their hair, or they wore wigs, ugly-looking things, but they wore wigs. And this is how they looked. And the men had tzitzis on and prayed every morning. And the women never wore low-cut gowns or short sleeves. They were very modest in their attire. Now, these people, the Orthodox, were almost non-represented in those first exhibitions of the Holocaust Museum. And I felt that this was disrespectful of their memory. After all, they also died, gave their last drop of blood in the carnage that is known as the Holocaust. And as many as a third of the victims, and maybe more, were Orthodox or ultra-Orthodox. And so you cannot have a portrayal of the victims without the victims themselves, an accurate portrayal of who they were. And by not portraying them, you were killing them a second time because you weren't giving them the opportunity of being memorialized. The second gross, disturbing element that was within the Holocaust Museum was a large plaque at the end of the exhibit honoring the memory of Stephen Wise for his efforts on behalf of his brethren during the Holocaust years. Any child, any victim of the Holocaust, or child, such as myself, of the victims of the Holocaust, would want to vomit seeing that plaque. For it is well established historically that Stephen Wise was an impediment against those who worked tirelessly, desperately trying to save Jews in whatever way they could. He was always negating their efforts, frustrating their abilities to reach the president and to have the influence in the Congress. Such a person, who, had he been involved truly in trying to save Jews from the Holocaust, could have saved many thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Jews, had he really tried. To put a plaque in his honor was sacrilege and was demeaning the memory of those who died and those who died trying to save those people who were murdered. Well, I wrote those letters to the editor 20 years ago and asked the Jewish community to demand from the Holocaust Center a change in those two matters. Well, guess what? I came 20 years later, and sure enough, the pictures depicting the Jews depict all kinds of Jews, a rainbow of Jews, from the most religious to the most secular, showing all of the various Jews who were taken on the lines in their last tragic moments. And therefore it was an accurate portrayal of who were the people who were sent to their deaths. May the blood of all of them be avenged. And I was also happy to see that there is no sign honoring Rabbi Stephen Wise for his efforts in the Holocaust. He might deserve credit for other things, but not for saving Jews during the Holocaust. But I have one more request that I ask the public to help me with. And that is, only one rabbi stands out in the entire Holocaust Museum. His name is Leo Beck. He's a Reform rabbi from Germany. How come no Orthodox rabbi makes it to being a player during the Holocaust? Surely the Gerer Rebbe, who lost close to 1 million, if not over 1 million Hasidim during the Holocaust, for a third to a half of the Jews in Poland were associated with the Gerer Rebbe. Surely the Gerer Rebbe should have some recognition. Surely, perhaps, the OSTROVITZER Rebbe, who was asked to join the Judenrat and instead kicked the German soldier where it hurt and was executed in front of his Hasidim, certainly the OSTROVITZER Rebbe displaying his strength of character and saying he will never give in to terrorism, to tyrants, never give in to evil. Surely a person of that character should find his way in the annals, prominent in the Holocaust Museum. Or the holy Rebbe ELCHONAN Wasserman, who is known to have come from this country, the safety of this country, to come back to Baranovice, to die with his flock, knowing full well the dangers that were before him, but feeling that he had to be with his flock at the moment of danger, and came back to them. Surely Rebbe ELCHONAN's name and face should be prominent. Or one of the other great rabbis who were leaders in the Jewish community and kept them together during that time, that terrible time. Surely there must have been a leader in Poland or Litva or Romania or Hungary. How about Rabbi Chaim Michol Ber WEISSMANDEL, who single-handedly kept the 200,000 or more souls of Bratislava, kept them out of the clutches of the Nazis for close to 4 years, kept them alive through his negotiating efforts, together with other Jews in Bratislava. Surely Rabbi WEISSMANDEL, who was involved in saving Jews, hundreds of thousands of them, surely he should be mentioned and he should be prominent. But no, only Leo Beck. And I ask, why? Leo Beck didn't save more Jews than Rabbi WEISSMANDEL. Leo Beck didn't have more influence on Jews or comfort Jews more than the Gerer Rebbe or the OSTROVITZER Rebbe or the Alexander Rebbe or any of the great rabbinical leaders of Eastern Europe. Surely some of them can be mentioned prominently and have their portrait seen and their words heard, or at least discussed in those displays in the National Holocaust Museum. And with that, we will correct something that has been sorely missing for the last 20